This is Colin Digits. I'm here with Frank, CEO from Apeiron. Going to have a beautiful AMA with tons of valuable information because obviously we're at the Digits Club and we would like to know everything about Apeiron. Frank, welcome.
Hi.
Nice of you to join us. Could you please start perhaps by giving us a small introduction to Apeiron, what it's all about? Because I know you guys have been working on this for a long time. How did that go?
Oh, well, first of all, thanks for having me here, Colin. This is actually my first AMA with a KOL on YouTube or on Zoom, so we'll be a little nervous, and thanks for popping my cherry. Please be gentle. But anyway, okay, on to Apeiron. Apeiron is really my passion project. It started 6 years ago, and it's my little attempt at reviving the black and white. It's a 2001 PC game, a Godgame, and one of my favorite games of all time. And Apeiron is my wannabe spiritual successor of the black and white. But of course, we throw in a lot of different things along the way. Making games is actually daunting and extremely tough. I was actually not a game developer, and I think before that I was in private equity and in management consulting before this. But I've been playing games all my life. My game library and accomplishments dwarfs that of my normal resume, really. But yeah, 6 years ago, I founded a company with four co-founders, and then we onboarded 15 core members to start the company. And we've been developing the game ever since. We incorporated. It was originally planned to be a mobile game, really, a free-to-play model. But as the concept grew, we went through 5 prototypes in the first 2 years, and then we set on the Godgame simulation and the battle we have now, and then we were ready to move on. But the team grew, the size grew, the complexity grew, and the free-to-play model on mobile is great, but it's limiting in a sense for Apeiron. Luckily, my co-founder, the guy who's responsible for all the technical development and all the production operations, he told me to, dude, we got to check out you got to check out Axie Infinity. This is something else. This is the future. And so sure. And I looked at the game, I played around and said, dude, this is crappy as hell. Honestly, I looked at the system behind it, the breeding model, the blockchain, and how it integrates with the NFTs and real life the exchanges, and it was like very refreshing. So we played it extensively, and we found that the token-driven model introduced by Axie, yeah, and the blockchain technology and NFTs are really great, with which great games could be built on, and it really fits Apeiron. So yes, we remodeled our Apeiron into a blockchain game. It's not just a simple mobile port. We want to do it proper. And so yeah, we remodeled a lot of the stuff, and then we went into a full production on the blockchain last year. And that's where we're at now, after a lot of dwelling, diving into the blockchain and Axie and the different games and the landscapes.
Right. How hard was it? How hard was it to adapt? Because I mean, if you went 6 years of development, I assume there was like a really strong foundation there, or maybe, I don't know, near completion. How difficult was that original base game for it to change or adapt to like the blockchain crypto stuff? Was that complex, or was it a lot easier than you expected?
It's complex. The first thing we identified for the blockchain equation is to breed. The breeding element introduced by Axie and CryptoKitties, so to speak, really fits the NFT model. The idea of breeding the creation of new NFTs for other players to play the game is wonderful. And putting it on a galactic level by breeding planets and universe is absolutely ridiculous, but at the same time, we found it to be a pretty interesting. And so we incorporated that. And the most difficult task for us is actually our original quality is what you see in the trailers and teasers. It's all in 3D and funny, cute graphics, I guess. But the rendering is of, well, I'd say above average quality. And to create breeding and variations needed for the breeding up to billions of combinations is the main disadvantage for us, because we are trying to do everything in the 3D while most breeding games out there usually do it in 2D. And And our
And
art
is it
directions.
like a labor intensive or tech wise or cash flow wise? Where is the difficulty on that?
It's more labor intensive. The
Okay.
art space, the artwork required artists. Um, it's very hard to find the right artists, so to speak, nowadays, especially in Asia or around the world with the rise of NFTs, the so-called the gig business industry where everyone is outsourced and the pricing is really getting very, very enticing for the artists themselves. And the developing markets are all growing exponentially, so to speak, in Southeast Asia. Originally, it was still relatively easy to recruit, but the competition rose rapidly lately, with everyone trying to develop games and NFTs. But still, we found talent along the way, and still trying to grow our size. Hopefully, with the closing of our seed round, some PR announcements, we'll find recruitment easier. As for the tech side, it's actually not that hard on our end because our original company, the original 30 employees, actually most of them are front-end, back-end developers, technical artists, technical developers, and game designers. We actually lacked artists, so to speak, in the beginning because we didn't expect to incorporate such huge breeding variety. But
Right.
yes, the other tech side is it's okay. It's standard with enough developers. We're still recruiting, of course, and but a lot of the stuff that we prepared. If you imagine Apeiron to be a game with 4 core mechanics, Godgame, simulation, and battle being the 2, we have that pretty down. But the other ones that we adopted for blockchain is really the reset mechanisms and the breeding mechanism. These are the 2 core gameplay mechanisms that we incorporated to fit into the blockchain model, 2 giant mechanisms, and
Right.
that's the
Right, because when I went over
babbling
the
on.
white paper, I saw like the main key game features. For anybody not familiar with Apeiron, could you give us like a small rundown of the gameplay in terms of like the little dudes, the planets, the avatar, how that works?
Okay. Well, have you played any God games yourself, Colin? Spore, Black and White, Populous, any of these games?
No, I don't play that many many games. I always say when people ask me this a lot, specifically on AMAs, we only play games with women, right? But we don't play any video games. No, I play. I used to play World of Warcraft, but that's like the MMORPG, of course. I like some
Mm,
Age of Empires strategic game, but not really like
okay.
when you're the person in control of like what happens. I don't think so. Maybe Civilization, is that like, it's like strategic. Is that like a god game where you're like the
No,
person in charge
no.
of everything? No, no, then it's
Similar. Well,
a no for me.
God games are it's a subgenre. It started out as a subgenre of real-time strategy, really, and some simulation, but it evolved over time. The easiest ways to put it is, well, have you played SimCity or anything similar to that?
I haven't played it, but I know how it works.
Okay, I'll stick to woman analogies next time. But anyway,
Okay.
uh, usually in a city building game, you'll be building the cities, the houses, the armories, the barracks, so to speak, using resources, so to speak. But then in a god game, everything is more indirect. You'll be building the trees, the mountains, the waterfalls, the rainforests, the flowers, so to speak, the food, the crops, while the actual building of the civilizations is handled by artificial life. In our case, these are the dudes, the yellow chubby chocobos or minions, if you like to call them, but we call them dudes. Dudes inhabit every planet, and depending on what you provide for them, they will build structures, buildings in your honor, of course, or just to be more dudes themselves. And you'll be using the 4 elements as a god of the planet. You'll be using the 4 elements to interact with the environments, cast rain, cast earthquake, pressurizing sands and rocks, blowing stuff around, using fire to destroy and rebuild stuff. Ultimately, you change the environments to allow the dudes to thrive. And how you shape your planet, actually, there's a creature, there's an avatar that grows together with the planet. Each avatar is unique to every planet. Our planet NFTs actually come with 2 things, the planet itself and this creature that grows with the planet. How you shape the planet is how you shape your avatar, your creature's HP, attack, um, uh, defense, crit rates. So it intercorrelates and how you treat your dudes on the planets. You can either treat them good or evil, actually, depending on how you use your miracles and elements. How you treat them and how they view and worship you will affect what skills your avatar has. And in this avatar, you will control directly, sort of like a giant robot or a giant hero. You'll be doing battle across different players or AI-controlled components across the universe. The universe is the game map itself.
Yeah.
Planets being the basic unit of play, you will be jumping across planets, stars, solar systems, galaxies, and quite ridiculously, if you can imagine it.
The whole wide adventure.
It is.
So basically, it starts with the planet, right? So you have this, you have these dudes, and you can basically cast whatever elements to kickstart off the environment, right? Changes happen, that goes on. That avatar becomes either good or evil. Obviously, evil, right? I think for most of us, we torture them.
Depends.
They worship us. You take your crew into dungeons. You explore the universe, and slowly but steadily, it grows, right? The whole ecosystem.
It does. It does.
And
the
at
good
which
and evil
point
decisions
would it
everyone
be?
make.
Sorry.
So go ahead.
At which point would basically, because obviously I understand the game element that it grows, it grows, it grows. I read something about sacrificing planets to reduce basically what's going on. But what is like the end game in this case on the playability side?
In the beginning, you'll be leveling up, and then you hit plateaus. And then that's when you trigger an Armageddon or a Rapture to reset the planet. Each time you reset, you'll earn play-to-earn tokens and you'll level up your account. As you reset each time, you'll be growing more impressive planets. And ultimately, when you're at the top level, you can engage in multiplayer play, because Apeiron, one of the main features in the late and mid-game cycle, is actually on alliance play, on guild play. There's 12 mythology galaxies spread around the universe. And these are all centered around different creation myths from around the world. There's Babylon, Egypt, Shinto, Southeast Asian, Latin American, Greek, all 12 of them. And they all are giant, well, if you play World of Warcraft, similar to a giant expansion pack with different game modes all centered around GVG and GVE elements. There'll be world bosses, dungeon raids, battlegrounds, and even seasonal esports events. Each galaxy provides a different game mode, sort of like a new continent in World of Warcraft. But of course, not as giant as them. Those are the AAAs. We're several categories lower, but still huge content packs that we planned over the time span of over 6 to 8 years, and even more, to provide different game modes for alliances, multiplayer team play on massive scales. And yeah.
Right. So at the end, well, I understand it now better. Thank you so much, actually, from the review of the white paper, now your answer. So the game actually has continued longevity based on these additional, like you said, expansion packs. So the core of the raids, the dungeons, etc., it's the gameplay is the same but different, unique to that expansion then, and the user can basically specifically driven by the guilds, right?
You can say that.
Yeah, a huge, yeah, okay, makes sense in terms of the gameplay. All right, I feel like I have a good understanding of the game, everything that goes along with it. I'll just pick up a really interesting question from Mika that he posted, which I think is a very interesting one. In terms of your 6-year run-up to now basically doing like pre-seed, seed, probably private, public sale on your tokens, how did you bootstrap the first 6 years of the business? Was it bootstrapped or was there like a different?
It is mostly bootstrapped by me and my family. But honestly, I had friends and some partners from my old private equity days and from my college years, actually, and high school years too. And they have been supporting along the way significantly. And but ultimately, it was just me and my family. So yeah, I am extremely heavily invested into this endeavor, just trying to realize my own little crazy dream, I guess. But along the way, I found some equally crazy people to tag along on my in this team, and most game development can't that lasts so long. The core team changes. It's really, the burnout rate is huge. But of the core team of the 20, 24, 20 remains now. And we are really very, very happy now to arrive at this moment. And to fundraise a little early, and the reception that we got was a great encouragement, so to speak, for 6 years worth of work. You have no idea how many developers, not just us, but I think those that are stuck in the AAAs, that they may be development hells, that they are stuck in, and their work never gets to see the light of day, and they just have to stick through. So yeah, well, anyway.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, good job so far. I mean, I think we can all say that the white paper was quite impressive. My main focus, to just hook into Mika's question, right? So bootstrapped all the way for 6 years. When you said like it's a passion thing, I mean, if you read the tokenomics, you look at the vesting schedule, which we all do, and you see team tokens vested for 6.6 years, something like this, right? It's so relative to the other vestings. And that's what I said in my video as well. And that's not just to hype you up or anything, but I'm like, when I saw it, I remember you mentioned something like that before, but I couldn't recall. And I read it and I was like, well, if you are going to vest your tokens for 6 years, the most obvious thing we look at as investors, whether it's IDOs, any rounds or NFTs, is the cash grab. Right? Is this just a copy of an original game and just adapted to blockchain just to make some quick money? But if you already been hustling for 6 years and you're going to extend it with another 6 years, well, you must be serious about this, or maybe a little crazy, Frank. one or the two, right?
Oh, it's a bit of both, really.
Maybe.
But yeah, it's a bit of both, really. So yeah, it's not just my 6 years of life and the amount of money that I invested. It's also the lives of over 20 up to 30 people, 4 or 5 years of their lives. And we're trying to build a game for the 6. We're not trying to build a game with just half a year or 1 year life cycle. We're trying to build the franchise. That's actually the initial intent of the company that we found, to create games and franchises that's original and unique to the world. And so we actually have also merchandising, licensing departments and our own publishing marketing departments employed from many experts around Asia to realize this dream. And yeah, sorry to disappoint most of the listeners, so to speak. Our TGE and our public sale is not going for a fundraising approach, not a price discovery approach there. So one of the main things that we're trying to do with these 6 years and with all the preparation is to really avoid the hype-based economy, hype-based community that's so prevalent in today's Web3 space. We think hype is great for fundraising, awesome returns. I myself was really great into the DeFi Ponzi rap that was out there on Phantom and Avalanche, and the flipping of the NFTs and the stuff is really profitable. But ultimately, having witnessed the hype and the fame, I guess, destroy the community itself and and give so much pressure to the development team and the community. Any long-term project that originally had great aspirations ultimately crumbled or succumbed to different types of distractions along their production pipeline. And for us, we really want to avoid that to a big extent, actually. So we will do our pre-seed, our seed rounds, we'll get our funding. And then from launch all the way from our TGE until our launch, we're going for a much smaller and a lower price appreciation curve instead of starting really high, which would actually be pretty easy with Apeiron, because we actually have a lot of support from the community and from the from you, KOLs like you, who really believe in the product, which is great. But at the same time, because we have so much expectation both on ourselves and from our communities early right now, that we want to do it proper and we want to do one right for game developers on the blockchain, so to speak. So we'll take it slow. We'll spend a lot of time educating our communities. If you take a look at the allocation, the community and marketing, there's 8% and as much as the seed round itself. It's not just airdrops. It's really education and partnership with community builders, KOLs such as yourself, and others who who are intended to stay on the blockchain and even evolve over time. We're still in the hype phase right now. It's great actually, but
Right. Of course. I
they'll
mean,
be
it's always a component of it, right? Living up to that stage. But you mentioned briefly about the seed investors, right? That you're now looking at. I know because I've asked that many times to many people. It's not often discussed who you're looking to and who you're talking with until the deal is signed. But if
of
you
course.
from a personal point of view, could express what you would think or would be interesting, because I assume it's not just for the money, it's for their marketing, their reach. What would be interesting prospects for you if you would talk about seed parties?
Sure. Actually, in pre-seed, if you look at our partners, they are actually, most of them are unheard of by most of the Web3 community. They're actually either friends I've known and have been supportive of my projects throughout the 6 years, or it's a physical game development companies, or actually one of them is the physical gaming card distributor and tournament hosted in Asia. These people are just endeavors I've met and are very helpful and will ultimately benefit because they are of the franchising world elements. The new ones are actually IVC, YGG SEA, Guildfire, and Slackler. These are the gaming guilds that I met early. And in seed round, which we're in right now.
You mentioned it quite quickly, but those are huge names, right? So Guildfire, you mentioned Yield Guild Games, right?
The Southeast Asian branch.
Yeah, but that's fine. I mean, that's a huge
Those are big
brand,
names,
right?
yeah.
Because you're dropping it like this, but it's like a little bit bigger than that, right? I mean, for like, no, that's all good from like an investment point of view. I mean, like the thing is, when you spoke about the alliances in game, right? What I'm thinking is that would require guilds at the end of the day. And if now you are pre-seed seed, right? Let's focus on the seed, talking with these guilds already, then it's not something you're considering at public. The other week, I was talking with the game and they said, yeah, we're heavily into games. And like, which one did you sign? The TGE is in 2 weeks and no guilds have been signed. Well, that's a problem, right? What did you look at when you look at these specific guilds in terms of what they can offer? What do you think is interesting for Apeiron that such a guild might be able to contribute to the actual game and everything?
That's a really long one, Colin. That's a really, really long one. And I'll have to get back to the seed round after this one because it's actually very important. The way I skimmed it through was actually undeserving.
Okay, let's go one step back. It's fine. You continue with your story. I'll go back to it later.
All right. So, yeah. Initially, when I started out with the white paper and the original pitch in December, I actually didn't think much of gaming guilds. For us, we saw the growth of gaming guilds, the boom of gaming guilds, the rise from the scholars, so to speak. And originally, I thought they must be the grinders, the takers of the economy. If I introduced them to my games economy, they would just extract all the resources out of my economy really quickly. So I'm very gingerly as to why I should incorporate them into my cap table in the early stage, so to speak. But obviously, thoroughly mistaken. And I met different veterans in the industry who introduced me to YGG SEA first. YGG SEA, the CEO, Effend, and partner Dan from IVC opened my eyes, so to speak, to the possibilities and actual runnings of gaming guilds. So gaming guilds themselves, well, they are actually some of the best ideal early investors in an economy. They will have the least incentive to sell our resources. They will onboard scholars from around the world and different demographics, and they themselves are growing themselves because they need to compete against the many gaming guilds. I'm telling you, there's around 27 gaming guilds on my cap table now, and they're all around the world and growing. And I'm still meeting more and more each day. And these gaming guilds have to grow in their own way and specialize. And by partnering with them, we solve a huge part of the user acquisition problems arising from typical games. Because in game development, usually 1/3 of the budget goes to development. The 2/3 goes to marketing and acquisition. It's a standard model practiced by all. But the gaming guilds themselves, they act like the new publishers, so to speak. but they invest heavily into the games itself, and they have to invest themselves into user acquisitions, branching out across the world. And the more gaming guilds I meet, the more I love and entertain the model of partnering with them, because I don't just see gaming guilds, I see many gaming guilds. And those that have a pure scholar model, pure grinder model, I don't really include in my cap table. But those who have a different roadmap to evolve either into the win to earn, into esports, into metaverse, into physical real world elements, or into specific technological development side of the plans. They each have their own specialties and their own passions, and they all understand the play to earn model in a way that's most of them also understands that play to earn models may not be one that lasts, but the blockchain games and the play and earn and the ability to earn model is actually there with proper support, of course. And I partner with all these gaming guilds to realize this vision of mine, and and they are the ultimate free-to-play portals into Apeiron. What we identify as the success of Axie Infinity and the original birth of the entire play-to-earn economy, so to speak, and the gaming goods themselves. It's not actually when AXS was priced at 120, or when the staking was perpetual and 120, extremely enticing, actually. I bought a lot myself. But ultimately, the key factor is when Axies cost $200 a piece on the market, and you need $600 to start a game to enjoy this unique entertainment experience, so to speak. The idea to earn money is the main draw. And then it gave the boom to the entire gaming guilds and the play to earn economy. This model that draw the attention of the world into blockchain, really as well. And we want to uphold this original concept by evaluating and positioning Apeiron as a premium paid app, actually, not free to play game. I was so wrong to think about that in the beginning. We should focus as a developers in developing unique entertainment experiences with win to earn and team and earn elements, while the free to play element, the free to play portals, is with all the gaming guilds that we partner. They invest in us. They have scholars. They will onboard different players, educate different players in Web3 and everything. And Apeiron will be a unique catalog on their diverse catalog. And we work in a proper ecosystem, so to speak, where we work on a new developer and publisher model, so to speak. A publisher that is controlled by the community, not by a single two publishers. The whims of the 1 to 2 guys. So it's a new ecosystem. And by looking at how many new play to earn games, so to speak, in the market suggest free to play elements to allow accessibility is not, in my eyes, not properly leveraging this giant billion-dollar industry that is continuing to rise, called gaming guilds. Why not work together with them, collaborate with them to form the ideal user acquisition education model? And I evolved this idea shortly after meeting many of the giant gaming guilds, from YGGSA and then to Guild5. Different types of guilds, different evolutions down their path, but very passionate individuals each, and very, very smart and talented team behind their back. And yeah, and so I continue to meet a lot of them, even the mid and small sized one, because the giants have their advantages, while the mid-sized to small-sized ones each provide very different flavors and individual technologies and things, and they really give the spice to not just my cap table, but to the gaming landscape that the players will eventually meet. And and so yes, there's a bit of everything.
As long as there's like a win-win for the guild, obviously they need games, right?
Yeah.
And the adoption of the Apeiron game could definitely be significantly boosted. What would be perhaps a more difficult question? The strategy be for onboarding users if you could not utilize the gaming guilds?
Well, we still have the merchandising and franchising department. The dudes themselves are very lovable and cute. If you're a good god, or you can outright find them extremely annoying and naughty and just you want to punch them out the sky. It's all perfectly performable in Apeiron, and they developed into these giant plushy dolls we're building right now. And there's merchandising and there's stories The story element is that we're remodeling a lot of the different creation myths from around the world. If you'd notice that actually a lot of creation myths makes very little sense if you read them. The gods are very, very whimsical, sadistic in nature, and random. And we try to make sense of these stories using our own Apeiron storytelling and also the dudes to make it humorous and funny. And we'll do animation shorts centered around different mythologies around the world and tour the world with these animation shorts to couple with our releases. And also, Apeiron, forgot to mention, is huge on esports. If you take a look at the battle system, it's extremely esports oriented. With the esports elements, is one of our main user acquisition process. In the first phase, we acquire users from the gaming guilds from the Web3 space, but we will move very, very quickly into esports and to publicize giant esports events. And this ties into what I want to say in the seed round, one of my huge tranches, so to speak, the core anchor actually. One of the anchors, I need 3 anchors. One anchor is an esports and merchandising, and we want to develop this arm early to properly expand the market from Web3 gamers to esports gamers and then to the Web2 space. And on the other pre-seed table, we have the physical gaming card founder, who really is very crucial to the Asia's physical gaming card scenes. And in my eyes, if the original gamers from Web2 space are the gamers that we want, the physical game card people are the OGs of these people. Only the geekies, right. Well, not the geekies. No,
when you say physical game card, do you mean Magic the Gathering?
Yeah. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. You're still a gamer at heart, Colin.
I used to sell. It's like a funny story. I have a video on this as well. I used to sell in big scale World of Warcraft trading cards.
Nice.
Yeah, half illegal, but I did make a lot of money on that as a little side hustle. I think that was 11 years ago, so that's like a long time. But when we look at the Web3 adoption, esports to Web2, is the esports an angle to bridge from crypto audience to non-crypto audience, or why would you specifically choose esports? When I look at esports, I'm thinking about Fortnite, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike. I don't know what these guys play, but I'm not really looking at how Apeiron could be. Is it the dungeon mechanic, or what would the esports do to make it a competitive game? That's more like my question.
Have you heard of a Clash Royale, a mobile game?
Is that with the bases?
With the towers, up and bottom towers, and then you can use cards in real-time strategy, sort of like Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering cards, but in a real-time method. You throw the cat out, and it becomes a troops or a spell that moves along to destroy the other's towers. It's one of the biggest.
Yeah. I've seen it. Yeah.
It's one of the biggest mobile games, so to speak, by one of my favorite mobile game developer, Supercell, and they devised this Clash Royale game, and they turn it into esports. Of course, it's not as giant as the ones you talked about, but they have their own gathering, and this mobile platform gaming sort of is growing in size, and with the Web3 adoption, a lot of games you mentioned are on the PC, running on the PC and Windows, and they're actually not as accessible in the developing countries and in other countries, the other nations that is thriving on Web3 right now. And a lot of them are focusing on the mobile platform. And our game, our battle system, is a card-based battle that incorporates Clash Royale elements, Dynasty Warriors, and Battleheart. It's new, but it's extremely balanced at its core, and it provides a very challenging battle on the esports arena. It will be a new flavor, but we see the esports as one of the main driving forces for future even government policies. I guess I'm influenced by Asia because we're located in Asia, and we see a lot of investments and fundings, even government plans to incorporate esports elements and industries into real world industries, and so we want to
Why do you
leverage
think
that.
that is? Is it because of money or because of something else?
I think games have evolved from vice and a hobby to really something that people can live off of. First, by esports teams, the franchise element, the vertical industry created by esports from merchandising platforms, sponsorships, teams, and training centers around the world. They have actually evolved to gain so much attention to the different governments that they some of them even advocated the esports to be incorporated into the Winter Olympics, I guess. And there's distraction, and I really want and games are well, games actually is one of the best storytelling platforms I see in this world, but it was very underrated before. The worlds that are built by games can actually be much more expensive than the worlds built by a movie or a TV series, and we want to tell stories using games as our main core platform, but of course we'll supplement it and add on to it with old school cinematics and um, animation shorts, of course. But we see huge potential in this, and we want to explore over there. Am I repeating myself?
No, I'm just thinking at the same time about this esports because I do think it's interesting. I'm just wondering, the element of esports is the competitiveness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how could we ever have, let's say, a country like India and there's 600,000 teams of 10 people because only the 3% at the top would really earn like good money, right? Are these
Mm-hmm.
people then still casual, right? Or they would earn something, but not a lot. How is that? Or is that not your business?
Oh, that's not my expertise, actually. Definitely not my expertise, but I've looked
Tokenomics,
into
right?
it.
Economics.
Well, the teams themselves, yes, it's a tough business. Only the winners, actually, so to speak, less than 3%, I think, get to split on the earnings of everything. But there's an entire ecosystem that's born on it. The KOL platforms, the YouTubers, the videos, the streaming services, the merchandising,
Right. Okay.
and a lot of the sponsorships is actually related back to once you relate back to the merchandising business, into the platform fees, and into really different types of sponsorships, so to speak. It builds up into a sport itself. But at the core, I agree with you. It's not everyone can benefit from this, but but people are willing to root for their teams, so to speak, even if
Yeah,
they
yeah,
don't win.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Makes sense. It's
it's
like
like
the
watching basketball
following and
games and soccer
everything.
games.
Yeah, everything to
And
it. All right, that's
sometimes
cool.
it evolves into something else. Yep. I'm babbling. Please stop me and move on.
It's all
Back to the
good
seed round.
because
Back to the seed,
we
I guess.
have the game now. I like that we're going a little bit more in depth and not specifically about the Apeiron game because I have a video about the Apeiron game which everybody can see all the details about the game, what it does, how
I
it
saw.
works, the game features,
So
and
I
this
corrected
is
the
more.
typo you found.
Yeah. Oh, the I found. Okay. It's
Yeah.
more about like the whole understanding, right? Like we always look at the game, but the real interest for me personally, and I think everybody here as well, is the company thinking about more than just their own game? Like a lot of these companies are so obsessed with their product that do they see what's going on around them? And now I hear you, and we actually have the opportunity, Frank. So I appreciate that to ask you these questions, where we can actually see like, okay, what are you thinking? How are you thinking? Because all we do is we compare it with other people that are willing to talk with us, and what are they doing, and we make our choice based on that. And this does sound like a very thorough plan at least. So please, yeah, do continue on that seed aspect. One thing I'm very curious about, apart from the adaption, is more the money side. What about big VCs, for example? That's something that
Yeah.
obviously the investors love to hear, if there's any
Mm.
names or whatever, and why you would prefer to work with
Oh,
those VCs, if you would pick any.
I would not want to jinx my cap table right now, especially I'm 2 weeks before I close it.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
so yeah, I can't reveal. I don't want to jinx that. But I can tell you how I strategize the seed table actually.
Sure, that would be great.
Not going for name tag collection here. So once the seed closes, um, you won't see a huge round of investors because I'm sort of an old school private equity guy in some ways, and so I believe commitment and comes from the amount invested. So if people just invest 150,000, 200,000 into the seed round, they're just there's very little incentive for them to really help out. Really, oops, someone is calling me. Anyway, oh, where did I leave off? So yes, I want to look for core investments that make up my cap table. The gaming guilds will make up around 1/3 of it. The giant gaming guilds. They formed user acquisitions and the user base. Of course, they're very important to us. And the around one quarter will be the gaming VC funds. They are very specific and talented gaming VC funds that know how tokenomics and game mechanisms work. A lot of games just plug a playthrough in. They just plug 2 tokens or 1 token into their icon, into their game that is a mobile port or reskin project, and they publish it out. Well, speed-wise, it's great, but ultimately the model will be very hard to sustain. And these gaming VCs have lots of experience dwelling on these games. 2 of them that I really like actually worked on the original Axie model, and also some of the really great and solid games that are on right now, and I really want them in. And then it's the giant VCs. The giant VCs I separate into 3 cores. One is the metaverse. The metaverse is pretty much a VC that is very invested into the chains and the NFT projects, because one of the main draws to enable sustainability is actually to increase the utility of your in-game assets, your NFTs, so to speak, for every game. And that comes in the form of metaverse collaborations. Still 3 to 5 years away. The ultimate digital property rights model is a tough nut to crack. But if we can find a metaverse partner that is very into this model, and the portfolio projects can be accessed between each other, it forms an early gateway, an early mini model of the real metaverse to come, and it will increase the utility and the collaboration between the games itself. And so we want a core partner there. The other one is really one that's very strategic to penetrate the tier 1 markets. The tier 1 markets being the US, Europe. These markets are after all where the lead changes and the money is. The old world money is still very deeply rooted into the Web3 as well. And we need proper presence and connections that can be provided by this giant, well, choosing from 2 giant VCs. And finally, it's the esports and franchising department. This is there are many funds that's connected with the esports industries actually, and they stem from it because they want. Well, I'm not going to go into the whole gaming blockchain movement. Everyone has heard that 1,000 times. So yes, we want to focus one that's a really giant fund that's deeply rooted with esports and franchising and this ecosystem that we want to explore. So there's these 3 guys that will take up almost half of the seed, and then a third goes to the gaming guilds, and a quarter goes, and the remaining goes to this gaming VC that will help us explore the game tokenomics and how we evolve. A lot of times we look at models from a maximized model, but I think that's very wrong. We do have some models on a modular phase, but in order to remain adaptive of the thing to come, and crypto is not something we can predict. I can't even predict what happens in 2 weeks, honestly.
I agree.
I usually just, the last time I endeavored into Phantom and Avalanche changes, I have to stare at the charts. And game theory or prisoner dilemma myself out of it. It was extremely fun. Makes money, and it feels good to dump before the others to win the game. But oh my god, it's so time consuming.
It's my favorite part.
Well, it would be great if I would find it great if I don't have my own company, my own game, and my wife and children to manage. I actually spent a lot of time during my investigation phase, but it was fun. It was really fun. I can really picture why so many people are interested. But anyway, yeah. Well, I'm derailing again. Okay, back to the cap table. So yeah, got a good mix of everyone in the big rounds, but I also talked to a lot of the smaller guilds and funds to do either. I actually let in a small VC fund real early on, and that's Leo Ventures. I have to give credit to them right here because
they're doing good things.
I've been they are I've been a management consultant for 2.5 years. I've seen a lot of the giant US conglomerates, and then I was up in private equity and raising Series B and IPO for a lot of companies in Asia, and I've met a lot of different founders, entrepreneurs, fund people, like giant funds, equity investors, angel investors. But I've never seen someone like the founder in Leo Ventures. That guy is insane. Before he met me, before he introduced himself to me, before we everything taught, he was already in my Discord, chatting his way all the way up to rank 1, and there's this dude in my community really early, just chatting to me, and I find him very amiable. So we chatted and say, oh, I know some KOLs, I know some gaming guilds that you can introduce. Well, oh, sure, well, of course, I met all the KOLs, the gaming guilds. And then finally, he said there's some funds that I can meet. Oh, sure. And I met the funds. And then one of the funds is Real Venture. And then he showed me, oh, I'm actually the dude in the community. I was like, oh my God. Well, he pretty much gave all us the resources up before he met me. And I was like, wow, you are really to meet people like these that are so interested and passionate about Apeiron. And it's not just Leo Ventures now, there's several community members that are very, very passionate, and that's really encouraging to find people that love Apeiron as much as I do, and are willing to commit so much, and for a founder to be so hands-on into the community, into the building, not just my project or in all his projects. I find it, if I don't let this guy in early, I'm insane. So yes, I let in early. A lot of the other VC funds will just look at my capital and point at that. Who the hell is that? But I will explain the story. I will explain the story to them, and they all find it very impressive, and it actually encourages them, and then it inspires confidence in them that Apeiron has a draw to attract these people, and I want to find more of these people in my community and in my cap table, because well, it's one of my little fundamental philosophies as I grew up, is how I make friends, so to speak. Sometimes when you partner with the big guys, they're great. The name tag is great. They're really veterans, the CEOs, the COOs, but they don't have much time for you. But sometimes next to the CEOs and COOs, there's this analysts and these assistants, and actually with time they will grow and evolve. And I like to, throughout my life, I've always been chummy towards these assistants that are like, of course, the prettier ones as well.
Me too.
But they will, a lot of them will actually step up along the way, and it's important to mix with these people, to identify these ones, not just based on their looks, of course, but based on their talents and their passion, that they can grow together with us. And that's why I talk to the smaller and mid-sized funds a lot, and to see which ones really believe in Apeiron, and we could work together in the long run. So yes, I talk to everyone, big and small. So crazy times, but happy times. After all, 6 years of development is no joke. It's went through so much crap.
Like
but
those
anyway,
those additional 3 to 6 months now. I mean, like now it's coming to market, right? You can really see. Well, like here, right? You're stepping out there, you're showing your face, showing the business. I think that's one of the more important things once that step is made. People keep asking about the NFTs, so I'll make the switch in a second to these NFTs, because that's definitely quite interesting. But one thing I want to say about that seed is that, to summarize, it's a lot more strategic than just a raise of money. Right, that's what it appears, that you're putting together your vision even through that seed, because as I understand it, you could raise the money either way that needs to be raised, but it's more about what the value of these investors bring apart from the money, right? So that's definitely important to note for everybody here, I think, as that's interesting, right? It must mean you understand the value of what you're doing, which I think is quite obvious already, has been obvious, but that
Hopefully.
confirms it as a fact. When we speak about the NFTs, right? Because obviously you have a setup on the tokens, which we'll discuss later, but the NFTs are quite interesting. Could you give us a rundown, please, of the NFTs available, the first mint that is coming up, and somebody asks specifically about the utility of apostles.
Apostles are actually airdrop events, 12 consecutive airdrop. Well, not consecutive. We had a hiatus in Chinese New Year for Red Pockets. But it's actually a 12 consecutive weekly airdrop events. We give them out for free. 300 of them, 12 classes. They are the 12 classes of the pets that you bring along in combat. And these apostles are origin apostles are actually unique collection of these 12 classes. They're pretty powerful, but not extremely powerful. But the value comes in that they're collectible. Let me dwell a bit more on Apostle NFTs first. These airdrops are weekly. I think we are at our 10th run right now. There's 2 more to go, 1 or 2 more. I forgot. And when the game launches, you can use these as the Relic NFTs. They're like equipment, so to speak. Every planet comes with a bunch of equipment slots, and there's 4 slots specifically for these apostles that you can bring along in combat. And with these apostles, you can have a pretty cool sidekick early on to breeze through the early content, and they offer great choice into the deck that you will build. But ultimately, the main value of these apostles is in the collection. Collecting, the more you collect, not by total number, by variety, you'll be able to automatically get yourself whitelisted in our coming pre-sales. We have multiple pre-sales actually. The first that's coming up is the planet pre-sale, the Generation 0 planets, on April 14th. And then we'll do our private round pre-sale. The private round is actually half of it goes to the small to mid-sized gaming guilds, some to different strategic partners, and half of it goes to the public via whitelist applications, those who want to participate in our APRS launch early. And there's a whitelist process, and it grants you there. And then in the June star and land sales, it also grants you whitelist access into those by collecting enough.
You need all 12 of the apostles to get the whitelist, or just 1?
You need 6 to get on the normal whitelist of our coming mint pre-sales.
And 6 unique ones, or can I buy 6 ones of one kind? Basically the cheapest one. Okay.
They're unique ones.
6 different classes, yeah?
Yeah, but there's 12 of them, so it's pretty easy. This is the collectible way. There's also other advantages, actually. Our first giant dude plushie doll, it's not that giant, it's a mid-size, giant melon-sized dude plushie is coming up. Very critical of it because it's my first baby in the merchandising area, so we went through
you mean like a real toy thing?
Yeah. It's going to be an NFT ticket, but it's going to be free. Anyone who owns 4 apostles will be entitled to join an event, and they can earn this ticket that entitles you to this plushie. Burn it, and we'll mail it to you, and keep it. You can sell it on OpenSea if you want. There's a limited amount of them available, and then there's other stuff. You can get into other privileges, so to speak, into our Discord channels, into our special events that's only available to apostle holders. And ultimately, there's a big collection reward if you manage to collect all 12. But I will only reveal that in June.
In later stage. All right. Well, I think it's interesting because, to be fair, it's very unlikely that I will ever play the Apeiron game. So I don't care about the impossible in-game. I don't care about the plushie tool because I'm not 12. But I do care about whitelists and allocation. Is there an indication on what kind of allocation that would give 6 of these apostles? Like the amount of allocation?
Well, you get a whitelist into our planet pre-sales. Our planet pre-sale works like this. The the mint is on April 14th. If you have 6 of them, oh, asterisk, thank you. This is one of our most OGs here. Getting 6 will get you the Planet Presale mint, and then the whitelist entitles you to 1 mint on the day of the mint. If you collect 7, it gets you into the pre-sale whitelist. It's up to from 1,000 to 10,000 around US dollars of allocation in the private sale, but it's all via applications, and you have to submit an application, and we go through a KYC process, all that.
Okay.
And then there's the collect more, and there's the VIP whitelist. The VIP whitelist, it should be VIP. It's a very important dude. But anyway, you get to mint earlier and more planets, 2 planets to be exact, 2 hours earlier before the mint, and 2 planets you can mint if you get 9 apostles. And then of course at 10 and 11 you get more VIP whitelist. Yep.
Yeah.
And then yep.
Specifically, my question about number 7. Yeah, I hold 7 Origin Apostles, a PRS token whitelist. Is the sale hosted by you on ApeironNFT.com, or is it through a launchpad?
Oh, this is one of the biggest questions I'm trying to model myself, actually. Originally, we were trying to go on the launchpad. But with the reception we're getting, we're actually going to both CEX and we are all possibly going for an IEO and an IDO at the same time. And there's actually multiple launchpads interested. So yes, we'll go on a launchpad. But the exact way with which we're going to do it, I want to take my time to just to close my seed table first and to find the ideal way to do the launch, because we, as I said, really want to avoid the hype-driven models. So we're going to start small and lean, and just talking to many different veterans in the business to devise the ideal way to do it.
Sure, yes, give me a call anytime, Frank. You can call me anytime.
Really?
When it's about token whitelist, I think so you basically give the people the opportunity to be eligible to participate in that sale, right? But I think for people, or at least what I would say from my personal point of view, it's important to know what kind of allocation we're talking about, right? Because if it's $50 worth of tokens, I'm not going to bother
minimum,
buying 6.
I think the minimum is 1,000.
Ooh.
We're setting the minimum to 1,000 and then to 10, from 1,000 to 10,000 actually.
Okay. Exciting.
Yeah.
Herman, go on OpenSea, buy us 12 of these apostles.
You don't really have to actually. This is more the collectible way. The easier way is to just join our community and participate in some of the events and get some quest marks. This is the other side. We promote a lot of different engagements in our communities, and you can get whitelists over there pretty easily, if I might say. But of course, the apostles is a different way. They have collectible value, and they are more lazy way. And
it's kind of my way.
If you want to flip them, if you want to flip them, buy an extra set. I would advise, because once I close my seed round, and once the other KOLs come on board, and and our zombie club friends come on board, the pricing may jump significantly for a period.
Yeah, but I mean, with this kind of stack of rewards, the flipping is always interesting, right? Depending on how high the price goes. Taking profit is important, but with this kind of stack of reward, and I think when you said super secret reward, I do expect something like a ticket to the Apeiron office, 5-star hotel kind of thing, maybe Apeiron World or something like this. But yeah, no. I think it's definitely a good setup. You mentioned, Tyler has a good question. The planets specifically, because that's 14th of April, you said, the first mint coming up. What's the difference between these planets? Because there are cheap ones, and the most expensive one is 6.66 ETH, which is quite a heavy price. In current terms, we're talking about 20K USD, something like this.
Yep. I actually advise no one to buy the Primeval Planets, because I want them for myself. So just go for the 2. And
I was like, what? But yeah.
I had a huge argument with my co-founders whether we should put them out, but yes, we decided to put them out. But I really want to get some myself. Anyway, onto the rarity. Actually, the Apeiron Planets functions like this. It's every planet is governed by the four elements: fire, earth, air, and water. And we introduce a unique mechanism to the normal breeding mechanisms you see in the breeding games like Axie and Chumbi. Is that well, there's an elemental mixture of every planet. The least powerful mix is the four element mix. You can breed it like breeding a bloodline. To purify it down to three elements, if you have, well, put it this way: four elements, you get all four skills in a tier 1. 3 elements, you get 3 skills in the tier 2 level. 2 elements, you can get the 2 skills in the tier 3. A single element, you unlock the most powerful tier 4 elemental spell and capabilities for that element. And so
is it just more rare or also more powerful in game?
It's both.
Okay.
It's both. Each tier is significantly more powerful than the next in terms of the general gameplay. But this doesn't apply in the late game arenas. Actually, as I always like to put it, the Primeval Planet is the noob canyon. Do you know what a noob canyon is, Colin?
I wish I was familiar with all the gaming methodologies, but I would love to know, because then I know what noobs are. Herman and the rest of my team, I will classify them as those, but I don't know what kind of canyon you're talking about specifically.
Okay, so in first-person shooters, there's a term called noob canyons. That's pretty much what every noob uses, wants to use, so to speak. It's a grenade launcher,
like a cannon. Yeah. Oh, okay. Like we'd call it like noob tube, like that.
Yeah. So it's easy to use, powerful to build, easy to wreck kills, but ultimately may not be the ideal choice of weapon in the top tier arenas. They lack versatility, but still extremely awesome to look at and freaking cool to own, of course, and to brag. And in the right hands, extremely devastating, of course. And so yes, the Primal Planets are very powerful and but very hard to maintain, so to speak. Imagine a fire planet and your dudes ask for water. It will be tough, but it's doable.
Oh, right. And what do you so the hierarchy of these NFTs is basically stars, planets,
well,
avatars?
the planets are the basic unit of play. No, the avatars comes with the planets. Every planet is already its own avatar. And let me scroll a little back on the hierarchy of the rarity. The more expensive the core, the higher your chance is getting one of the rare breeds, getting primals, dual elements, and tri-elements. So the chance, you can look at the chance of the drop. It levels up together like that. And if you play any breeding games, this is a whole another topic. We'll be here for 3 hours, Colin. And to breeding is actually a monopolizing game in some aspect. We actually bred a lot of Axis last year. And it's actually possible to monopolize certain traits down the line, and if you can monopolize certain elements, or you don't have to monopolize it, but if you can manage to find the 2 ideal mix of elements, like you can find a fire and air planet and another fire and air planet. If you manage to own that, breed it at all costs, you'll be breeding fire and elemental planets. But I don't want to boggle your mind here, so I won't go into details.
Yeah,
but,
it's quite complex. I'm trying to visualize it, but
there's a whole different way to play in itself just by breeding, and we tie it all together with gameplay. But ultimately, yes, different tiers entails different chances to get the better planets, and yeah, there's rarity and gameplay advantages, so to speak. And these Primeval Planets, of course, are also have a unique function that helps you breed along the way. There's a primeval legacy, and this legacy allows you to control the breeding process more precisely, so to speak. And well, let's leave it at there.
Yeah, because
pretty good.
obviously it's quite a detailed topic with the planets.
I think very helpful dude and community members here answering your community's questions, so to speak. But dudes, please leave some room for the questions so I can interact with them.
Okay.
Anyway, back to you, Colin.
Even when they come on, I'll try to pick them up. I'll have the chat open here. Yeah, okay, so Tyler Tyler is sharp today. He's saying obviously the whole breeding component is quite complex, right? So you have the different alignment, the different choices. What would be your way of communicating to the actual users how these features work, right? Because I mean, of course, from the user, the gamer, because Tyler is asking about the gamer, I'm more interested in the investor point of view. Yeah, let's say I have 4 of these planets, I need to breed them. I want to make the right call in judgment of the rarity or how that bloodline flow would work. But I also don't want to spend an hour looking at images or explainers to figure out how this works. How would you, or at least your idea on how to communicate this? Or is it actually a lot simpler than we now are thinking?
There's actually 2 aspects. The really simple version, if I want to dumb it down, is well, not dumb it down, to simplify it, is
good correction there.
well, the planets are extremely valuable, and once I close my seed round, once the other KOLs come aboard, once the celebrity KOLs come aboard, the price is going to soar. So just buy it and flip it. I think you can do it within weeks. Well, I won't want to show that there, honestly. But how you look at it is these planets are actually, there's 2 parts. How to get to the average gamers. You see the 8% allocation in the community. That's where we place a lot of emphasis into education, actually. If you look at our community, we have programs and incentives for different players across the world to translate and summarize these features into different infographics. And it's readily available in our Discords and servers. And you can find these resources either by asking around, by looking at the links, going on our Discords, or on our Medium articles. Short summarized version or detailed versions are both available. And as always, you can either ask the mods or you can ask me directly for in-depth analysis. But on to the breeding mechanic, you don't have to breed per se. You can just hold, because each element is elemental mix is quite rare in the beginning. And everyone will try to find a pair to breed, those who want to play, who intend to play. If you don't want to breed or anything, you can just put it out on the market anytime. If you got a dual or tri-element mix, people will definitely want their hands on it. The other ones who want to breed. And we spend a lot of time educating the crowd. Breeding is important. Do you know what gave rise to Axie and CryptoKitties? It's the breeding mechanics. The breeding mechanic is extremely fun and rewarding. And those who own these Primeval Planets and those who are willing to breed, they are the sole distributors of our games. They are the ones who will be selling the planets to the average gamers and players in October. If you own a couple of these now, you'll be literally printing copies of our game, aka printing money by the time the game launches. And our whole token-driven system, the TriToken system, and the mechanics we use is used to value these planets at a higher cost and continue to drive their valuation up. We think NFTs, the core technology, and the idea of player owning assets is one that enhances the values via hard work and strategy. And you can be sure that these planets are going to rise because we're going to limit the ability to breed. And so throughout from the breeding, which is coming live in May, all the way to October, our game launch, breeders are the backbone of Axie. They are the ones who founded gaming guilds, the breeders.
Right.
And it's extremely profitable. And but of course, we study the Axie model very intensively, so we have differs in opinions on how this should be handled. And there are just so many cases that could happen along the way that we have to monitor the breeding markets very carefully. That's why when a lot of people ask us, why are you releasing your NFTs before the game launch, before the IDO? Well, breeding is actually very complex, and we need a lot of data to support it. And we want to
would
watch
it
how the
kickstart
market
the
reacts to
ecosystem
it.
as well? Would it like function as a kickstart of that economic activity?
Of course it would, because the governance tokens, the breeding cost the governance tokens, and so it provides utility for both the planet and the tokens itself. That's why we incorporate breeding into it, because breeding really maximizes blockchain and NFT and token model utility, and we want to have that in to ensure that we have the blockchain game success.
But you could only breed the planets. Is that correct? What about the stars? You can only breed
the planets. The stars are the land, actually. You own a sun, just like a star, or a sun, just like you own a plot of land. The planets can orbit around your sun, and they'll age faster, actually. Not sure if I want to dwell into this with you. Do you have another hour to sit with me, Colin? But yes, I'll give it a quick go through. All the planets actually age once they are minted. On April 14th, your planets age by 1 day a year. The older your planet gets, the more equipments you can equip on them, and the more desirable and valuable they become. You think along this line, even the least desirable planets become valuable because they'll grow into an extreme old age, and that old age can be added to the more desirable planets via an in-game system we call chrono merging that burns the less desirable planets, add those years to your more desirable planets so it can jumpstart your very desirable new planet, so to speak. And it burns the NFTs and the tokens to enhance the value of the more desirable ones. So, well, that's the simple gist of it. Won't go into details, otherwise.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, it makes sense. So now we know at least where these stars come in. What about these? You mentioned the governance token briefly, but as far as I understand, there are 3 tokens, right? One specifically to function the alliance, guild, event stuff. Could you briefly explain each of the 3 tokens, their utility, and also why you chose specifically for 3 tokens instead of dual?
Okay, so we believe in the token-driven model introduced by Axis Infinity. The 2 tokens is the governance tokens and the play turn token. I think they're very popular, but I can get more utility if you want. So the governance tokens is there to, well, for the governance voting, of course, but we're also trying to go for a different form of a DAO, so to speak, in Apeiron. I believe the governance tokens hold a great stake and a great weight in the voting process, but a true DAO should not entail only its governance tokens, especially when we have multiple tokens and we have NFTs and we have a gamer community. If a DAO truly wants to listen to the entire community, one should encompass all asset holders, not just the governance token holders. And to be honest, if a DAO wants to be fair, and you just count on one token, and the token is very enticing to the whales, then after all, the DAO will be controlled by the whales back again, and the developers. So what makes the DAO special? I find that mind-boggling, actually. But anyway, still, the governance tokens has its weight, so I'll dwell into the DAO later if you want. And then there's 2 functions for the governance tokens: the breeding of the planets and the creation of the relics. Every time you play on your planet, you grow, you might run into a very rare apostle, a pet, or a giant volcano, or giant waterfall that you built, or the dudes actually built a pyramid for you. These things provide powerful passive bonuses. Normally, when you reset your planet, everything is gone. But if you want to save it, you want to create these, turn these into NFT relics, you can use our governance token to mint them into these relics. It's acts like a safe slot, so to speak. So in your new playthrough, you can use them, or you can sell them on the marketplace. The play to earn token is the one that you earn by resetting your planets. Once you get your planet, you'll be shaping it, converting the dudes to your followers. Once you successfully convert a certain percent into it and level up your planet to a certain size, you can reset. Once you reset, it's sort of like sacrificing all these dudes wouldn't want to say sacrifice. Sometimes we call it rapture or oblation to put it more easy. But yes, you turn all these souls and progress into anima tokens, our play to earn tokens. And the play to earn tokens is used to either breed as well, or used to age the planets. Every time you consume another planet's age, you will need to earn our play to earn tokens. So these are the two tokens that's highly akin to AXS and SLP and XE. But having studied XE so intensively, one of the three main flaws we find in it is the lack of social gameplay, the lack of late game retention, so to speak. And a lot of online games and mobile games that last over a year, a lot of them focus on alliance play, team play, multiplayer play, because only when your friends play, you will stay. If your friends don't play, you can pretty much get out early. And for you, Colin, if there's a really hot chick, at least just on the profile photo, you'll be more inclined to participate in weekly events to stay with them.
Likely.
Well, at least a little longer until they reveal themselves to be a guy behind the screen.
Right.
And then yes. So we want to and in Apeiron, there's 12 mythology galaxies all centered around alliance content, and even out-game events centered around alliance content. So we want to dedicate a token specifically for these alliance gameplay. The alliance gameplay in Apeiron is no easy. Actually, all gameplay as Apeiron is not that easy to accomplish overnight. Apeiron is not like we brand ourselves as a play and earn game, not a play to earn game, because we don't have a readily economy you can jump in, buy a planet, jump in, extract 40, 50 US dollars a day, and then start off. We don't think that's a very healthy and sustainable model, to be honest. In Apeiron, you have to pay your dues. You have to enjoy the game and level up and play, and then you have to. Well, it's definitely not a game for you, Colin, in that sense. But yes, you have to play, you have to team up, you have to learn the game. And it takes skill, dedication, and teamwork, ultimately, to take on the late game challenges. That's the Singularity. And our designers are very sadistic, actually, all Dark Souls fans. So the world bosses, the dungeon raids, and even the guilty guild battles will be very tough. And so it's very hard to miss this Singularity. But of course, the Singularity also unlocks the best rewards and also the best liquidity pool staking mechanisms.
Right.
So yes, with these three tokens, these are the three tokens, and yeah, there are multiple problems that arise with the nature of play to earn tokens and economies, but I'm not sure if we should go in here. And but yes, even with three tokens, we still face the deflationary nature of all play to earn tokens and tokens in general. So there are multiple approaches that we approach the deflation problem, but maybe that's for another day or for another AMA, or if you want to dwell, I could dwell.
It's perhaps a little detailed on the tokenomic side. I'm definitely at this point having a full understanding. I would like to ask you perhaps some more detailed questions about Apeiron. Specifically about more of a strategic focus from you being the CEO moving forward. What would you say is Apeiron's biggest opportunity for 2022? So basically the TGE, the game launch, where you say this is the biggest opportunity that we have that others might not have.
Oh, it's the entire game, if you look at it. Well, Apeiron provides a different experience, a gaming experience that's not, that you can experience on even in today's gaming industry as a game first. There are very little to non-existent God games out there right now on the Slane theme platform. There's only two, I think. That's prevalent. And Apeiron is not just a God game. The card-based action battle is new. The reset mechanisms, the merger of all these elements are new. The graphic style is not AAA. Hate to say I'm a AAA. We're not. But we have a unique art style and stories and merchandising to support this unique endeavor. And actually, I'm not at liberty to say this, but we have a very unique staking, liquidity pool staking mechanism that will drive a new type of play and earn economy, so to speak. And these are very unique experiences and new earning opportunities. One that is aimed for a much more sustainable period of time.
So some innovation on that side, you mean?
We try to do new stuff everywhere we go because well, it's dangerous and costly, but at the same time, it's the only way to stay ahead of the giants.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, you know, the reason why I'm asking you this, Frank, is like when you say like, oh, new innovation on liquidity staking, that's like, I would say extremely interesting, right? When you would say, yeah, because of the game, right? That's what every founder says that comes in on these calls, right? Our game is the best game. And I see Apeiron as a big game, right? But also,
I wouldn't say we're the best, but we are definitely a very unique experience that you can't find anywhere else. A lot of other games are big in production, but their game styles fall back to existing models. MMORPGs, real-time strategy, grand strategy, turn-based battles, Roblox, and Minecraft. But Apeiron's experience is different. You can experience every game I just mentioned back in the real world with $50 or less. But Apeiron is not a game you can experience anywhere else. And
right. Yeah, well, so that opportunity,
sort of the biggest difference.
That opportunity, right, for Apeiron, the uniqueness, is that at the same time a big weakness? Because it has there been like a focus group that has, I don't know, adjusted to this?
Well, the Godgames on the outset, on the white paper, is very hard to get across. That's why Godgames are so non-existent nowadays. The simple idea to get across to the users is actually extremely hard. But that's actually where education and tutorials come along. Even the most complex games with the right tutorials, with the right user interface and UX, becomes simple and easy. That's how you space it out. If we open up all game modes to you right off the bat, you're going to be mind-boggled and everything. But it's always a learning process in Apeiron. It's always a learning process in all games, great games actually. The tutorial is almost non-existent because the experience itself allows you to experience the game in very well-paced manners with different incentives that you don't realize it's complex at all. When you start on your World of Warcraft journey, select your class and there's only 2 skills and an attack button. And that's all you have. If you open up a World of Warcraft game to any other player that look at your whole 2 rows up to 4 rows of skill bars and the entire UI screen around you, they have no idea what to do.
Overwhelmed.
And Apeiron right now, if you just look at the white paper, people will just be wrapping around and saying, "What the fuck is going on?" But it's into process. If you look into the gameplay itself, the planet gameplay, the video, that's just the planet and 4 buttons. It's really not that. It doesn't it doesn't look as complex as it sounds actually. Of course, the system behind it is complex. There's a lot of depth to be explored, but the outset, the controls and the functions is highly intuitive and very user-friendly, I would say. So it's a different experience, and we really monitored the learning curve. And we have 6 months time to prepare the community for this, to educate them, to roll out videos on different gameplays. And gamers are gamers. Gamers are always great at finding these different mechanics and strategizing, publishing guides to them early, finding the best ways to tackle the best, to find the best combinations. And it's fun in the process in itself. So yeah, but you are very right, Colin. It is one of the biggest opportunities and at the same time one of the biggest banes as well, because of the costs, of the complexity, and of the difficulty. And I'd say that's where the 6 years we had prepared for helps quite a bit. And and the other teams out there that's new, they a lot of great talents over there, and those are the AAA talents. We have developers over here that's been outsourced by or co-developing with the AAAs, but we don't. I'm very honest that we're not AAAs to do. I don't think we are AAA.
Would the ambition ever be there? Maybe. to when Apeiron gets the adaption and you could push it
one
into
day,
like
the
the
but
next
honestly,
level?
the AAAs, well, we'll move up the levels, of course. But AAAs are AAAs. They are the Blizzards, the Rockstars, the Square Enix, the Nintendo conglomerates and giant gaming companies that's been there out there and survived and thrived for over 20 or 30 years. These guys are real AAAs. We don't. I am just a really hardcore crazy guy who want to make my own games and turn my own silly dreams into realities with an equally crazy team as I. And yes, also our efficiency may not be as incredible as the AAA, but we take our time and we take it with dedication and passion, I guess. And yeah, I got my back that's willing to, well, I've bootstrapped a lot of money in this. I've spent 6 years of my life. They've spent over 4 years of blood, sweat, and lives in this game. And so we are, you can bet your ass we're going to publish this game out and push through everything that we face. Because yeah, not
It's
going to
ready.
waste all these years.
The foundation is there. It sounds like it's strong, Frank. But it also
Thanks, Colin.
sounds like you have a very good understanding of, well, that's maybe your background as well, of all the different levels that are important, right? Because an amazing game is nothing without its users, but the money aspect is also important, and the further depth of a game relative to obviously half a year of gameplay is amazing, but what happens after that? And if you need to figure that out once it's happening, the pressure will be enormous. And it sounds like those 6 years of vesting with a 6 years worth of roadmap and ideas would come together really nice. I think this is a great point to end things for today. Frank,
Colin,
thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I think you...
Thank you, Colin.
You're welcome. I think you enlightened everybody really well on what your vision is, and more in-depth even than the white paper. And if we would have an opportunity later to bring you back, I think that would be amazing once once we see the updates roll out, right? Because exciting times, April 14th, the Planet Mint. And other than that, obviously the apostles that are already available. Anything you'd like to add, Frank?
Yes, first of all, thank you, Colin. Thank you for popping my cherry on the first KOL AMA. And as I said, before we met, the first time we met, I really, I actually really enjoyed talking to you, especially with the Godfather logo, the poster behind your back. And yeah, Marlon Brando. And so, yes, I talked to Herman. I think Herman also mentioned in the chat that I want to give out whitelists for your community and for the participants here. We actually don't do that usually. We don't give out whitelists directly. We usually give them like these quest marks so they can engage in our servers as well. But for you, Colin, you're the first KOL that we did.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And your community is, well, actually, I did a little dwelling around your community, and I really like it. And they are very organic and a really funny bunch, discerning bunch as well. But I like it, and so I hope you guys will enjoy the whitelist that we're going to give out. How you want to organize it, it's up to you, Colin. And I hope to come along again to continue to babble on and maybe come up with more analogies with pretty girls and stuff. But
I would love that, Frank. I think Herman is
maybe
taking
next
care
time,
of the giveaway.
another time, because these times usually I'm back at. He's probably just sitting right next to me. So yes, let's do this maybe in the other hours when I'm in the office.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
that's fine.
But nice meeting you, Colin. Thank you very much, and would love to be back in the future. And nice meeting you, Digits Club, and exciting to meet new friends. And always welcome to join Apeiron community or to DM me directly if you have questions. It's seat round, it's crazy, but I always go back to my community each day to answer questions, go through them, and thanks.
Perfect. You're very welcome, Frank. Thank you so much. Hope to see you again soon. Everybody, thank you for participating here today. This video will, as usual, be live on YouTube in a day or so. Thanks, Frank. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Colin.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hi, guys.